All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside in Tennis podcast. Mitch Michals here. This show is a part of the Bleed Network with tons of great content on the entire site, as well as available on all your podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, to name a few. We are finally here, 11 months into the off season. 11 months it took to get here, but we're at the off season point. 2025 in the rear view. A chance to talk on this show to some special people in and around the sport, especially those who play the game at the highest of the high levels. I'm joined now by an American who had his career year so far, still to date, still young in his journey, but a breakout 2025, breaking into the top 90, sits at a career high ranking of number 87, won 2 challenger titles, first main draw U.S. Open match, to name a few, 2023 ITA men's champion at Texas in college. Welcome to the show, Eliot Spizzirri. Eliot, it's always a blast to talk to players. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's funny too, right? Like I like talking to players at all different parts of their journey, but especially at what you would say right now clearly is, hot, like the best part of your path so far, the best part of your career. So how does it feel now being in the moment of reaching some milestones, playing well, and, being on the ascent? We always hear about players when it starts to teeter, but you're clearly on the rise. And how's that been, this journey, especially the last 6 months of it?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about the tour, a lot of good weeks and bad weeks, and kind of try to take them in stride. But I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's something where I don't necessarily set, let's say, ranking goals per se. So it's not like, oh, I hit this ranking goal and I felt like I did it, or whatever it may be. More so, I just, I'm trying to just improve and work on my game. There's a lot of things in my game that I thought, from if we look at the beginning of the year and then we look at the end, I made some improvements on. Predominantly, I felt like I served a lot better at the end of the season. And so that helped, and maybe that opens up other areas of my game as well. But yeah, it's exciting. I think you hear a lot of players talk about it, when they see other players that are young on tour. Maybe it's like we used to say in college, like you have the freshman fever. And so I like to think like, going into, let's say, the end of the year, the Asia swing or the European swing, I'm not, burnt out at all. I'm excited. These are tournaments I've never played before. And a lot of these experiences are so new for me. And I think anytime you're in a new environment, you're pretty fired up just to, see what it's like and give your best shot. So yeah, it's been a fun journey so far. And I'm enjoying a time off and my first, I guess, proper off season last year was kind of our first trial, but this I have a little bit more time to sort of structure it the way I want. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man.
Did you feel like towards the end of the year, because you mentioned the Asian swing and players they put so much, it's such an intense sport, as you well know. Did you feel like you managed your energy level and felt pretty fresh down the end? Because that was a lot of your success this year came on the back half, the time of the year when a lot of players are tired. They're not sure how much they have left in the tank, and you seem to thrive. So were you able to just manage your energy level and stay fresh and fit?
Yeah, I think, when I ended the year, we had a meeting with my coaches, my team, and the first thing I said was like, above anything else, I'm just so happy and grateful that I was able to finish the year and play a full calendar without any major injuries. So that was the first huge plus. But then, to your point, at the back end of the year, we made it a priority to make sure that like I did the best job of staying fresh. And there was a couple times earlier, I guess, in my career, per se, that I felt like I had too long of a stint on the road, and that had took a burden on me in the later weeks of that stint. So we just tried to manage it well, and I was talking to a few coaches, including my team, and the way we look at it is like I'm not necessarily someone that has a massive weapon. I can't serve guys completely off the court. I'm not 6'6". And so I pride myself on, my fitness and my mentality, physicality. And, going into the end of the year, we thought that's a great opportunity to get into some of these matches. And if you compete at the highest level, maybe a guy's ready to tap out and give you a few extra points here and there, or doesn't really want to, dig deep, down a break in the third, something like that. So We just looked at it as an opportunity to, you know, show maybe some of my strengths and
Right.
see if we could stack some matches together. So yeah, it went well, and glad that glad that my team sort of gave me that advice.
When you're in it, and it's so true, right? You have a team that looks out for you because there's a lot of unfortunate examples of that not being the case. But on that same vein, right? I wonder how it is growing up, maybe juniors or now in the pros, you start to play well. Are you someone that can take a break and is okay, it's time to rest, able to get that through? Because I got to imagine when you're playing well, it's got to also feel like I don't want to stop playing. What is this offseason? I want to just keep playing and keep winning.
Yeah, I told my coach, I said, gosh, it's going to be hard to take time off right now. I definitely felt like I had some good momentum going, into the end of the year and finishing the year. And of course, when you're riding, the sort of that high, you want to keep going. And so I'm definitely the first couple of days, I was, I was happy to take a couple of days off. But then, for the last week or so now, I'm getting a little antsy. I told my
Yeah.
coach yesterday I'm getting a little antsy. I want to play some mini tennis or something like that. And of course, I still watch a few. I mean, there's a couple of days where I didn't, follow tennis at all, but I was watching the ATP finals and stuff. So that kind of motivates you,
Yeah.
inspires you to want to get out there. So yeah, it's one thing. I'm happy to finish the year on a good note. Because last year I finished the year and I lost 6-1, 6-1 to Neshesh Basavaredi. And I think I had a bad taste in my mouth for the whole
Yeah.
offseason. So you can look at it both ways. If you
Yeah.
finish the year really crappy, you're motivated
Right.
to go in the offseason and work your ass off. And if you sort of finish the year on a high note, then you can kind of ride that high and keep going.
That's tough too, because you could have a great year, but the last tournament, if it's bad, that's the last thing you're thinking about for months. Whereas,
Yeah, I mean,
the flip side, it could be a bad year, but one good result, and you're like, I had a good year, when really it's not. Perception isn't quite reality, but
yeah,
yeah,
true, true. Hopefully most tennis players are sane
yeah,
enough to understand that one tournament doesn't
yeah.
define your career.
So your story started in Connecticut, right? Greenwich, Connecticut, like your parents' club, and just discovering the game through them. Did you have just a curiosity for tennis? Was there a history in your family of competing and playing at a high-ish level? What was it about the sport that you gravitated towards?
There wasn't too much history in my family. Grandfather liked to play on my dad's side. Uh, my dad played in boarding school. He wasn't a terrific player by any means. He might say that he was pretty good, but judging by what I've seen the last 23 years, it wasn't anything too special. But yeah, I my parents introduced me to the game at a young age at a club in Greenwich, and uh, I think above all, of course, I enjoy hitting the ball. I mean, I think there's to be a tennis player and do this for a career, you have to have some sort of, weird enjoyment of just like going out there and playing. And so I absolutely have that. I think another part of the sport that I gravitated to was the individuality of it.
Yep.
I kind of like the fact that the stakes are just all on you. You win, and that's on you, and you can be proud of that. And if you lose, that's on you, and you got to work harder and figure out why that happened. And it's not to say I didn't like team sports, but I just feel like I thrive in that environment where it's up to me, and I can take that last shot and deal with it. Uh, and then lastly, I felt like I had a really good group of people around me on the tennis court and in the tennis community when I first started that made it fun. So whenever I was out there doing the clinics at a young age, I had great pros and, now still coaches that I talk to
Right.
today that made it a blast. And that I think just carried over. All those things combined carried over into a true love for the game and a passion that hasn't died out.
It sounds like that's a great lesson for when you're in your position now and going forward into the whenever the next chapter of your life is. That if you're teaching kids or on the court, getting to pass the game down, it's about maintaining that upbeat, fun attitude. You weren't burned out early as so many were, unfortunately, in the game. So there's a lot of truth to what you just said there.
Yeah, no, I'm also lucky to have parents that weren't too overbearing. They were never really pushing me to play tennis. I have a twin brother who is a
Yeah.
professional squash player, but they never pushed us to, be in sports or try to excel at the highest level. It was like, okay, if you enjoy doing this, we're gonna facilitate it and give you the resources, but that's as long as you enjoy it. So. I think I'm really lucky to have that environment around me, and I've seen, as I've seen, there's many people and kids that are talented and have potentially great
Mhm.
careers ahead of them, but their parents maybe are a little bit too involved and
Mhm.
want to kind of have too much control over it, and that can cause some burnout. So I'm grateful for that.
It's an interesting dynamic you mentioned. Your twin brother, Nick, pro squash player. So two twin brothers, both professional athletes in racket sports. But how does, in your estimation, what you saw growing up, how does one pick tennis and one, your brother, go to squash? A little different environment.
I mean, maybe because we get in fist fights every time we play the same sport. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is maybe where my dad stepped in a little bit. He, we would play in the club matches, club championship match here and there, and it would get it was a disaster to put in one word. It would get pretty hostile between the two of us, and tantrum here, tantrum there. And so my parents, I don't think they wanted to see that. I don't think they thought it was good for our relationship or good for our family name per se, because it was not pretty what we were producing. And so my brother and I both got introduced to squash at the same time, sort of, and he just had a knack to
Hmm.
get involved there, and I sort of gravitated towards tennis, and we got lucky that,
Yeah.
we just fell in love with different sports. And looking back, obviously, I wish maybe we had been more mature and could have played tennis together, because it
Yeah.
would have been pretty fun. But at the same time, I'm so happy that he found his sport that he loves, and he's excelling at a high level as well.
Did you ever get out on the, or I guess in there in the squash court with him, play with him a little bit
Yeah,
in
the
his
last time
realm?
I played him, I beat him.
Oh, okay. All right.
We were I think
Yeah.
7 years old.
Okay. Okay. Walked off retired like that's
And
it.
and if you asked him the last time he played me in tennis, he would say he won 8-6 in a pro set, which is it's not true. But anyways,
I like that
that's all.
both twin brothers. They just win and just refuse to give a rematch. Like that's it. You're not going to get one. I beat you
Yeah,
last.
yeah.
It's perfect. Well, when did it really get real for you? Because in looking up your backstory, Elliot, like the upbringing of a tennis player, there's a lot of players that excel. You had the benefit of location, training at the USTA. What time frame was it in your teen years when it got real? Like, okay, this is more than just a sport I'm good at. This is a real path and a potential to be something more than that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I felt like it became I kind of felt like I had some potential in the game when I played Little Mo Nationals in Austin, Texas, when it was either 9 or 10 years old, and I ended up getting third place in that, and
Hmm.
talked to people around the tournament. I think the tournament director pulled me aside at the end of that tournament and said, I see some potential in you. I've seen, tons and tons of players come through this tournament, and you have maybe like something, some spark or some passion that, I can see watching you. And that carried a lot of weight. I actually felt like when I heard that, kind of light bulb went off in my head, like, okay, maybe I can give this a real shot. But to put it straight, I feel like when I went online for high school, that's when I made the
Right.
real commitment where I was like, okay, this is more of a job. Uh, so I went to regular school here until seventh grade, or finished seventh grade, and then eighth grade I did school online. So I did school online all of high school.
Okay.
Uh, and I think that was sort of when I committed to being a professional. We hired my coach, who's still my coach today, and started traveling the world, playing ITF junior events. Goal was to get into the Grand Slams, and I was fortunate enough to be able to play those Grand Slams. And so that's when I really made the commitment to, okay, I'm going to give this a shot and do everything I can, pour everything I have into it, and see where I end up.
Yeah, it's really says a lot, right? That homeschool commitment is, and I'm sure they came with terms from your parents, like you have a job to do, and if you slack, this is going to end pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
it puts you right to the fire at an early age. As you mentioned, right, having continuity, your parents, a strong coaching team. We see it even at the highest of the pro level when players tend to just switch coaches every month or so. They lose that continuity factor, which you can speak to meant a lot in your development from a junior to a pro.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be even close to the person or player I am today without Patrick Hurst. He's been my coach since I was 8 years old. I met him at the club, and then we worked together ever since. And so, yeah, I'm, you know, more than grateful for everything he's done for me. And I think, he's basically like a second father. I spent more time with him than I probably did with anyone else in the world, especially from the ages of 12 to 18. So yeah, I mean, he's really believed in me and sacrificed a lot for me, and so I think and with that, we've just developed this relationship where I have a lot of trust in him, and I know that he's kind of always putting his foot forward for me and has my best interest. So
Good.
it's yeah, it's an absolute joy that we're still working together, and we have some other people on the team now, but I think it works really well where he's always going to be a part of this journey with me because I wouldn't be here without him, and yeah, it's been a really fun ride, and I'm looking forward to it, continuing to grow, hopefully.
Yeah, very strong bond with you two, and obviously bodes well for the commitment you make when you put your mind to things. And I wanted to know too, Elliot, and I asked this question to tennis players. I'm just curious: was your game, your style of play? Obviously, you had to get a little bigger, stronger as time went on, and we know pros add stuff. But did you have an established game that you kind of developed young, or were you fluid with how you played? And if you could walk me through the type of game you played as you rose through the ranks of juniors.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I mean, my coach and I are both huge Federer fans. His Instagram handle is actually Fed Goat, meaning like Federer's the goat. Um, and so I think we tried to model my game as much as we could when I was young after Federer with a two-handed backhand, I guess. So when I was young, I thought my forehand looked a little bit more like Fed. I was trying to play this all-court sort of creative, crafty game, and I think as time has gone on, I've sort of molded into maybe more of an aggressive baseliner. But funny enough, I feel like the things that I'm working on to hopefully take me to the next level are actually playing more of that all court game, mixing in some variety and having the ability to change things up and not just be someone who hangs out on the baseline. So I feel like, we've sort of known that I'm going to be some version of a baseliner my whole career, but for years we've just poured a lot of effort into trying to mix in certain different aspects like random serve and volley. I broke my wrist. I worked on the slice a ton.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, mixing in the ability to volley and whatever, return and come in. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different aspects of the game that we've worked on, but I wouldn't say my game style as a whole has changed drastically.
Yeah.
It's more so just adding bits and pieces as we go.
How did you keep your nerves as a teenager practicing with Federer at the US Open?
I mean, I'm to this day, I've never not been able to eat before something because I was so nervous.
Like, how long did you know about it? Like, how long, how much heads up did you get?
It's only like a few days because he was obviously getting ready for the Open. I was getting ready for, I believe, the Junior Open. Not maybe not even the Junior Open. I'm not sure. Um, and they want they need he asked the USTA or the US Open. They looked for guys in locally that were ready, and Govind Nanda and I got asked, and so it was like 2-on-1s. And I definitely didn't have more than a couple days notice, and uh, yeah, that morning I got a huge bacon, egg, and cheese from the local deli and tried to put it, tried to eat it, and it just wouldn't go down, and so. That was yeah. That explains basically how nervous I was. I definitely don't think it was like I didn't I missed for sure. Um, but I hope I gave him a good practice. Govin and I had a lot of fun. He couldn't have been nicer, more generous to
Yeah.
us, and so yeah, it was an absolute blast. Really cool experience, especially on Arthur Ashe. And yeah, one that I'll just
Yeah.
cherish that forever.
Man, everybody talks about aura in this day and age, but I mean, you even saw it at the Labor Cup. Fonseca, who's like the next big thing in tennis, deservedly so. He's shaking, getting ready to meet Federer for the first time. I mean, there's just one Roger, and it's impressive.
Yeah, like when I was talking to him, I didn't even think he was real. I was like, this is crazy, man. I mean,
Great.
but yeah, he's
Yeah.
so normal, which is it's just a
Mhm.
weird thing.
Yeah. We got more with Eliot Spizzirri here on the Inside in Tennis podcast, talking to the American rising up the ranks and seeing where his career is going as we're all excited to follow along. The next stop for you on your journey was Texas and becoming a Texas Longhorn as college tennis picks up. There's been so many pros coming out of there in recent memory on both sides. You've got Glasspool, the number one doubles player, Peyton Stearns, Lulu Sun, to name a few. But what was it about the Longhorns program that made you take that trip down south for the betterment of your game?
It was a combination of the team that I was, going to be joining and being a part of, and the coaching staff. along with I thought like the vibe and the people at the university. So I guess like I wasn't really interested in Texas, honestly, at first. And then Brandon Wagner got the coaching job, the assistant coaching job. And once he got that job, I had actually known him because he was my doubles partner in junior Adam Neff's private coach for a bit. And so, we had a good relationship. He knew my game well. He's very good friends with Pat. And so he just was like, listen, come check it out. I'd love to have you. And I absolutely loved it when I went down. And I was lucky because it was one of the teams where I actually knew a few of the guys from junior tennis. And so I was able to get a real feel sort of the environment there. I talked to some former players, and then getting to know Bruce was also huge. There's no one as detail oriented. There's no one that's as invested in their team as Bruce Burke. And when I was coming down to my final decision, basically Brandon and Bruce are like, we will work as hard as possible for you. You commit to us, and we're going to do everything that we say. And they weren't wrong. They worked tirelessly for me and the whole entire team to just try to give us the best experience we could possibly have. So basically the combination of being in Austin, Texas with a great group of people and the coaches that worked so hard backing that, it was really hard to pass up. And it was definitely one of, if not the best decisions of my life.
Yeah, getting to play high level tennis in a good program that has your needs, front and center, but also you're diving right into that SEC power keg. And I've talked to several players and coaches who've been around that environment, and talk about playing hostile matches at the pros. I kind of feel like you guys are ready for it, prepared for it, given some of the road crowds you have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I actually never got to play in the SEC.
Right
So
before,
it was all Big 12. But
that's still like Baylor and Texas
dude,
Tech, and
indoors at Baylor was a crazy, crazy environment. I mean, OU was a crazy environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had some nuts, instances where we were getting chirped like crazy. I mean, it wasn't even just conference play. It's just there's so many different college. I remember playing matches at USC, at BYU, where you're getting your ears, you're getting an earful all the
Definitely
time.
feels like there's a toughness though with college tennis players that maybe you don't see on some level of professional players that are more used to more relaxed, let's say, chill environments. I think sometimes I feel like you college players are ready for the chaos a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's an advantage that we have. Like when people are moving around in the crowd, guys will complain, and that's for us, that's nothing. I mean, college tennis, it's kind of mayhem. Guys are talking in the middle of the points, they're yelling when you're tossing the serve. So I feel like that's something that you get used to in your 4 years, and you kind of feel that pressure of having everyone against you at once and doing whatever they can to screw you up. So. Yeah, I agree that when I watch former college players in the pro circuit, they seem to be a little bit more calm with all the external factors that may disrupt a player on court.
Were the pros constantly on your mind, given what you accomplished? Mentioned the title 2023 ITA, but you also, in looking you up, Eliot, you were able to plan for plan B. You had got your finance degree. You were committed to school. How realistic in your mind, as college was winding down, was a pro tennis career?
I think when I first committed, I mean, my goal was always to try to be a professional tennis player, but I obviously didn't know how good I was going to get, or how possible that was going to be. So I wanted to make sure that I had my best efforts in school, and I went into Texas after doing 4.5, 5 years online. I didn't go into Texas feeling like I was a stud in the classroom, that's for sure. There's a bit of imposter syndrome. My team and I joke all the time. I showed up to my first class an hour and a half early because I was so panicked about what's going to happen, and how am I going to raise my hand? Am I prepared? Do I have a notebook? Blah, blah, blah. And so I think that maybe imposter syndrome drove me to work really hard in school, and in turn made me actually feel more comfortable on the tennis court, because I knew that if the results don't go my way in the next couple years, or I get injured, or this is just something that I kind of fall out of love with, I have something else that I'm working hard towards, and I can fall back on. So yeah, I took school very seriously, and that finance degree is something that I plan to use when I'm done playing tennis.
Yeah, I would say that that's the right approach, just given the fact that you're never going to know. You want to go full bore into a pro potential, but how deep the game is, how such a global game it's become, it's very, very grounded to think, okay, I'm going to give it my best shot, but if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. It was nice, though, I would imagine, like you got a chance, you had to grind for the first couple of years, but that wild card into qualifying at the US Open gave you an opportunity that very few have had. And to be part of, not quite the main draw yet, but part of the United States Open is just has to be a once in a lifetime thing when you're first walking through the doors.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got that look, it was during COVID, so there was no fans, unfortunately. Actually, my mom and dad, my mom and dad, for my first match, it was my mom, my dad,
Yeah.
uh, Pat Hirsch, my longtime coach, was on. He had a family vacation planned for forever, and he was like, I can't skip this," like, because we found out pretty last minute.
Yeah.
So Matt Daly, who's also a coach in the area, helps
Yeah.
me out, and well-known coach. He sort of helped us out for that week, and so I have vivid memories of just winning that first match at the Open. It was late at night because there was rain delays, and it was my mom, my dad, Matt Daly, and actually Brian Shelton in the stands
Wow.
supporting me. So yeah, walking the grounds as a player versus someone who practiced there for many many years definitely felt different, but I also felt like I was at home. I mean, that
Hmm.
court, the first court I played on, court five, I practiced on that court religiously. So
Hmm.
it was almost a weird feeling. Like I think I was talking to someone this year when I was getting ready for the first round, and they were asking me how I feel, and I was like, to be honest, I probably hit on these courts more than anyone in this entire draw. I mean, yeah, Djokovic has played a
Except
lot
for
of
him.
matches,
Yeah.
but I have trained. I put a lot of hours on these courts, so I do feel at home at the Open, and it's also right
Yeah.
in my backyard. And yeah, that first time playing was surreal. That first win, there's no feeling
Hmm.
like that, and so I was really lucky to get that opportunity and thankful that the USTA
Yeah.
took a chance on me there.
Yeah, there wasn't the nerves. Just looking at the results, right? Winning a couple matches, getting to that last round of qualies, and it was another thing too, Elliot. Right? Like you're able to notch some landmark wins, but you lose in Q3, and you have the issue with the heat, of course, which is just brutal that time of year. But was that something that you had to learn and okay, awaken yourself to a little bit? Like, all right, pro tennis, the heat, the quality of the opponents, best of five. Did it make you change how you operated a little bit?
I think it's an experience thing a little bit and a mental thing. Of course, there's a physicality of it. When I lost, when I had to pull out of that last round, and I think I was down, I don't know, 3-1 or something in the third set against Emilio Nava
Yeah.
in the last round, and I sort of had like a kind of a heat stroke illness, almost passed out thing. Obviously I was really fatigued and I was dealing with a little nagging injury. And so I think just overcompensating and playing some grueling matches, all kind of caught up to me. But at the same time, I was thinking to myself, like, man, we're only playing 2 out of 3. Like,
Yeah.
if I won that match, I'm getting ready to play. I think he played Casper Ruud or something first round. And
Mhm.
that's not an easy 3 out of 5
No,
set
no.
match. So yeah, I definitely after that loss, I sort of it was kind of a rude awakening. I just had to dial in my nutrition a little bit more, my off court fitness, and then also do a lot of work on the mind and
Hmm.
just be more prepared for
Yeah.
sort of the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of a match, and make sure that I'm sort of regulating my stress levels so that doesn't add any additional fatigue.
Well, I know the next year was when it started to happen, 2024. You start to go play 250s, you start to win some matches, you get to the US Open, and you get through qualifying. And you beat a guy named Joao Fonseca in qualifying three. He's doing pretty well now. It's nice to have that head to head there. But I always look at your match and matches like that and think this is what the special side of tennis is. It's that player that finally gets through to the main draw. And that experience with the crowd in your backyard, a court that you grew up playing on, had to mean the world to you that you were able to not just have your breakthrough there, but have it in front of the fans.
Yeah, that was a crazy match. Probably the craziest match I've ever played. In terms of environment, in terms of level, everything involved. I mean, it felt like a college match. Everyone that was at that match kind of came to that same conclusion that this was basically a college match because uh, it was obviously the last round qualifying, and there's so many Brazilian fans in New York, and just so many Brazilian fans, period, for Joao, of course, and deservingly so. And then there was, all of my friends and family from home, and then, some Americans, who just enjoying the last round of qualifying in the Open, and there was some pretty aggressive Brazilian chants, and so they're going nuts. There's some USA chants. And yeah, what a crazy match. I mean, I was up a set and had match points in the second, ended up losing the second. And, so it was really just a back and forth, an absolute war. And yeah, it was definitely the biggest crowd to date. That was probably the biggest crowd I played in front of, because I remember people sort of packing the stands and the courts to the side. I think it's 6 and 7 or 4 and 6. And watching, and so yeah, what a special environment that was, and that was definitely a match that I'll remember forever. And a crazy feeling qualifying for the Open in front of all my best friends and my family.
So at what point, because I know it was like a breakthrough for you, and you're into the U.S. Open, you've reached this milestone, you're in it, you're in the main draw the hard way. At what point did you get word or look at your phone and see McConaughey tweeted about you?
I was stretching after the match. I think I put my phone down for a little bit, just to soak in the moment and not get too carried away. And when I opened my phone up, I guess you have a ton of messages, and when McConaughey tweets about you, there's that's a notification that I think pops up first. So yeah, I saw that one, and I just laughed. I just couldn't believe it. Of course, I know he's a legend at Texas, the minister of culture, massive part of the university, and someone that I really enjoy actually listening to. I've read his book, Green Lights, and I listened to a lot of his podcasts that he's on. And I hope to meet him in person and talk shop, because he seems like the coolest guy. And just the fact that he was tuned in, or supporting me, meant a lot. And it's just cool to see that the community that Texas has.
Yeah, love that he likes tennis too. It's great. It's another one to add to the mix.
He was on court for a Texas tennis match this year. He was on the court. He hits there all the time. We got him. Yeah. He's got a little Longhorn stenciled on his racket. He's dialed in.
There it is. Yeah. It's funny too, because that was that year. I mean, we're setting up for this year, the 2025 year breakthrough, but that had to be the year, right, that it felt a little more comfortable. Like you got your rookie year through, you made it through the tough times. You're starting to get more comfortable maybe in the locker room and seeing the ATP players, I would imagine, because it can be a tough experience, as you know, too, an individual sport where you don't have teammates to rely on to welcome you in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also something that I like to talk about, is there's, the American crew that we have, the American men, there's a great sense of camaraderie. There's a lot of selfless guys, a lot of guys that, strip their egos and are willing to, lend a helping hand to some of the guys coming up, some of the younger guys, and just, be a welcoming voice in the locker room. So that makes you feel a lot better, especially when you're walking in those places for the first time, and you're seeing some of the greats of the game. But yeah, I think that, qualifying there, I really felt like I earned it, deserved it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think, with each little step along the journey, you get a little bit more comfortable and maybe feel like you belong a little bit more. So that, that was certainly one of the bigger ones. But I'm always grateful for all the players that, when I was in those, especially those moments, were gracious enough to, give me some advice or make me feel at home.
Yeah, I was talking to on this show actually a couple months ago, Brad Stine, Tommy Paul's coach, and he said that this level of these Americans, he's been around the game forever, like way longer than we've been alive, obviously. But he said that the American men are closer as a whole than he's ever seen before in his decades in the game. And I think based on what you say, you would vouch for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Brad's been such a big help to me, and same as Tommy. I mean, I asked Tommy for advice very recently about the off season and everything, and he's just one of them that is, so generous with, his effort to help encourage us, and yeah, it's just another guy that just has no ego, and obviously someone that we've looked up to for a long time. So really lucky for him. And another guy that I was just thinking of today, because it just happened, was Chris Eubanks. Obviously he just announced that he's stepping away from the game, and I think focusing more on broadcasting. But Yeah, another guy that, especially when I was playing the Challenger Tour, even this last year, and he was kind of in
Yeah.
between, the tour and the Challenger Tour, someone that, played college tennis and always nice, so nice and fun to practice with, and gracious with his time, and would offer advice or a helping hand whenever you need it.
Yeah, Chris is one of the best, one of the true great guys in the sport, and he's going to just continue to be a great broadcaster going forward. So we wish him the best. A couple more things here with Eliot Spizzirri here on the Inside in Tennis podcast as we talk to the American about breaking through in 2025. And it was, a great year looking at it. I know you're not looking at milestones like you mentioned, Eliot, but you started the year outside the top 220, now into the top 90. I mean, it's an open-ended question, but one I wanted you to think about is, what do you think unlocked in your game in 2025? What was it that maybe led to the breakthrough, an area that you noticed you were getting better in? If you could point to one thing in particular, what do you think was the catalyst for this breakthrough?
I think if I had to point to one thing, it would be my serve. We made a big change last offseason. I used to step up with my serve, and then we changed it to more of the platform. We changed from a step up to a platform serve, and the reason for that was some like risk of injuries. My power line when I was serving was quite off, and so that was a huge change for us technically, and I felt like it took months and months to get comfortable with it in match play. Of course, you can go out and hit buckets on the practice court, but it's that takes a long time for that to translate to results on the match court. And I felt like at the end of the year, it really started to click, and I was able to use my serve as a weapon as opposed to something that I felt like was kind of like hit or miss on any given day. And I believe there's a trickle down effect, sort of a domino effect. Once the serve starts feeling good and you feel more confident in your service games, you can take a little bit more risk in your return games. And I think looking at it. At the end of the year, it was probably my serve and my return, the biggest difference that I felt like sort of helped me play a little bit better and create more opportunities.
Yeah.
But all in all, I believe that does stem from hitting my spots better and having a better percentage of high, first serves to then let me take some more risk on the return.
It's funny too, right? You had that stat come out that Alcaraz and Sinner have like won the exact same number of points. Like, the percentages, right? In this game, the margins are so thin. Federer's winning like 53, 54% of the points in his matches, something like that. Or if you're making a 1 or 2% improvement, that could be the difference between top 150 and top 90. It's
It
crazy,
could be
right?
like you literally hit two serves down break point that were aces, and if
Right.
you didn't hit those, you're not top.
Yeah.
I'm 150 right now. So, yeah, as we all know, as tennis fans and players and students of the game, it is a slim margins, and 1 or 2 points can change your year.
Have you tapped into any advanced or what you would consider maybe unique training to how you put the work in off the court? I know you mentioned maybe like some breathing and making sure that's right, but in terms of the mental and the physical side, is there anything you're doing that you think's helped you, get over the hump?
I mean, yeah, I've been working with a sports psychologist for a long time. She's been such a huge help to me, and another person that's pivotal in my life on and off the court, and made a huge difference. I work on the mental part of the game a lot. Meditate, visualize, journal, all that good stuff. I believe that's arguably the most important side for me and probably most players, and something that I feel like if I do a great job of can be become a strength and can give you an edge when you need it. And then I've started to take my nutrition a lot more seriously, sort of honing in what foods and what supplements and what time should I eat X, Y, and Z, and making sure that my body's performing at the best possible its best possible way at all times. So between the mental and then the nutrition, the physical side, I definitely I do a lot more testing, sports science testing, and making sure that my workouts. I work with a trainer. His name's Justin Russ, and making sure that my workouts are curated the right way. We're working on the stuff that my body really is deficient in. So I think it's all similar stuff, but maybe just at a deeper level, a more professional level.
Yeah. It takes a lot to even get to the beginning of where you are on this journey. And then if you want to keep climbing, it's going to be consistency that's going to get there. So it's really well approached, in my opinion, where you're at this point. As is the chance, like, to have these runs, to go through, win challengers, make runs, semifinals and quarterfinals and semifinals going forward. You're playing in Brussels. You do very well there, Eliot, and you lose to Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's going to finish the year top 5. What's it like measuring yourself against one of the true elite players and the chance to see where you stack up and where you would have to improve to keep climbing to that level?
Yeah, I was super excited for that match, just for the, like you said, the chance to see where my game lies against one of the best players in the game and one of the best players on indoor hard, of the last,
Yeah,
years.
the best. Other than
Yeah,
like Sinner, what he's doing.
yeah, I
Felix
kind
has
of
the most
knew.
wins, yeah, this decade.
Yeah, I don't know what he was when I played him. I know I don't he wasn't I don't think he was top 10 or anything. I think he might have been like closer to 15, but I was in my head I was like, okay, I'm playing a top 5 hardcore player, no doubt. And so yeah, I was so excited for that match just to see where I squared up and kind of to hopefully come out with some stuff that I can learn or maybe maybe I get a crazy win there and that would have been cool, but yeah, what a great experience. The first set, I felt like I was kind of trying to get used to his ball and the speed and the tempo that he plays at, and I got to be honest, his serve really impressed me. He serves incredibly well, and especially well in key moments. And then had some looks. Had I think a set point or two in the second, and played a great breaker. He came up with some real impressive shots and big moments. I was happy with the way I played. I went for it, trusted myself, and he was too good on that day. And another guy that
Yeah.
all deserves everything that he has, and such a workhorse, such a class act. So yeah, that was a fun battle, and hopefully I get another chance soon.
It certainly seems like that's the common theme. You hear players like yourself rising up and trying to get to the elite of the elite level. They say it's the top players, their ability to trust their game under pressure. And that's what separates it. Because it's only a couple points, right? You take them to a tiebreaker, could be a flip of a coin. But Felix and these top players, Sinner, Alcaraz, obviously Novak, they know what they can do, and they were able to execute under the highest of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's a great ball striker. Everyone can hit a great service, a great return. It's who's going to come up in the clutch and trust themselves to make the right shot, the right decision at the right moment. And you see it time and time again with those top players. Aside from Sinner and Alcaraz, oftentimes those guys that are ranked 3 to 10 in the world, they're in battles. They're in battles. Guys ranked outside of the top 10, I guess, and it usually comes down to, like you said, a couple points here and there, and that's the beauty of the sport. That's the beauty of the sport, is anything can happen on any given day, and it's not, no past results has any
Yeah.
reflection on what's going to happen today, and so I
Right.
think that's something cool that's why it's so fun to watch and so fun to play. So yeah, it's definitely I think one of the greatest aspects of sport and our sport in general.
Well, it's been very fun and interesting getting to chat with you on this podcast as we wind the Inside In Tennis podcast down with Eliot Spizzirri. Wondering how you handle yourself off the court too. It's a long season. There's a lot of travel. What are the hobbies that you're interested in, and how do you pass the time on this worldwide jet-setting nomad life of a tennis player?
Yeah, my hobbies. I'm a really big fisherman and golfer. I just actually went on a fishing trip with my brother and my dad as the season ended. That was sort of check
There's the
that
Tommy
box
Paul
off.
connection. Now I got it now. It's the
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah. He took me out last
Yeah,
off season, and
yeah.
I'm gonna go down to Florida in a couple of weeks, and I hopefully he'll put me on some fish. We'll see. But yeah, I like to play golf. I like to fish. I like to read a lot. And then spend time with my family and my friends. We used to play a lot of video games. We play a lot of paddle tennis now since it's cold here in Connecticut, or they call it platform tennis up here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I enjoy being active with my friends and family, and occasionally reading a good book. It's something that if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. That's not a hobby of his, but I've started to enjoy it with all the time on on the road and traveling. You got to find other hobbies that are not golf and fishing, because that's not always accessible. But yeah, man, I'm enjoy the
Yeah.
life as a tennis player. I'm lucky to be doing it, and yeah, I really really grateful for everyone that I have around me.
It's a great opportunity, and I love the fact that you stay grounded with everything as well. Eliot Spizzirri, the last thing I do have actually is, just a side. I was on the internet the other day. It was when the Georgia-Texas football game had just finished up, and I came across this truly horrifying image of you, and it looked
No,
like you were in
don't
it.
show it.
We're not going to show it. I'm going to respect you that much, but I think you lost the bet to Ethan Quinn and Georgia when Georgia kind of thumped your Texas Longhorns in football, but you can explain what the bet was and how that was paid off.
I mean, okay, so obviously Ethan Quinn went to Georgia, I went to Texas, and last year Georgia played Texas in a massive game, and I think we were ranked maybe one, and they were ranked 3.5, or they were ranked 3, and I think the spread was like we were favored by 3.5 points, and the deal was the loser had to buy the opposing team's cheerleading costume and wear it or for Halloween or a practice or something, and Ethan wouldn't agree to the deal unless I gave him the spread. And I thought that was crazy. Because I was like, dude, you got to have more faith in your team than betting against the spread. And I gave it to him. Granted, we got blown out by like 20 points, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
All in all, I had to buy the costume and whatever. You see the picture. But this year we were texting the morning of, and we're like, okay, we got to have something. There's something's got to be on the line here. And yeah, if Texas lost, I was granted. I gave him the permission to post a quite revealing photo, and if Georgia had lost, it would have been something opposite. But it is what it is. I'm a ride or die Longhorn at all times, and we'll get back on the horse, and we'll reset and be better next time.
Well, that's a lesson to everyone out there. Eliot Spizzirri is a man who honors his bets, as embarrassing as they may be, and I'm with you on the spread thing. I think that's a little ridiculous for a top 5 matchup, but can't all be perfect for that one. Eliot Spizzirri, a blast getting to know you, getting to chat with you here on the podcast. Any initial thoughts on 2026? Any thoughts? I know you don't like to look super big picture for accolades, but things you're looking forward to when the season gets here before we know it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing in Australia. It's kind of the first slam that I've had a good chunk of time first main draw slam that I've had a good chunk of time to prepare for. Because for the Open, I got the wild card sort of last second, and was playing tournaments prior to that, so didn't really have a big chunk to prepare for. A 3 out of 5, first main draw where I knew going in that I was going to be there. So yeah, I'm super excited to kick off the season in Australia, and then we'll take it from there, man. I'm just hopefully keep enjoying it, keep adding different things to my game, and proving the areas in which we see fit. We see a little bit of weakness, so that's stuff that I'm going to work on in the off season, and I'm excited to get out there and get back on the courts in 2026.
Well, really appreciate you coming on the show. That's Eliot Spizzirri, number 87 tennis player in the world, 2 challenger titles in 2025. His breakthrough, leveling up, getting the main draw access to Australia and beyond. Eliot, thanks a ton for coming on the podcast, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Mitch. I had a blast.
That was Eliot Spizzirri. This is the Inside In Tennis podcast. We're available on all your podcast platforms. Just search Inside In Tennis podcast on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Amazon Music. And check out the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals for the full video episode, along with the other episodes with our outstanding catalog of guests. Tons more content coming down the pipe. It's going to be a very, very fun off season with a lot of interviews with players, coaches, analysts around the game. So for Eliot Spizzirri, I'm your host, Mitch Michals. Thanks for listening or watching to the Inside In Tennis podcast. I'll talk to you soon.